the microphone, it'd be a little bit better for me. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm totally against privatisation of the NHS. And the main, where I come from on this topic, and I'll probably echo this point throughout the day, is that I truly believe that all governments go for one freedom, and currently it's freedom of trade. Whereas where I stand from, the standpoint that I come from, is freedom of opportunity. And without our health, without access to free health, we don't have as many opportunities as what we should, as what we deserve, just simply by being human beings. So, as I've come last, I'm afraid I'm just going to echo what everyone else has said. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, super. So we'll take some more questions now. Could I ask you a question?
Yes, my name's Claire, from the Trafford Green Party. What would all the candidates do to address that part of the electorate who think this election and this structure is just business as usual? You know, that people think it's the same transfer of power and therefore probably will vote in as low numbers as they've done for every other local government election in the last few years. And also those people who, like the people who are active on the NHS or Friends of the Earth or whatever, think that this is structuring austerity budgets, and that the voting for the mayor will be a wasted vote because the mayor won't be able to do anything either.
So that's one question, sir.
There's been a local physiotherapist in the area. I've worked across probably 10 of the trusts throughout England. My question is, quite a few of my patients I've come across will live in one area. They will be so close to, say for example, Pennine Acute and Pennine Care. There's two trusts very, very close together. They actually live in Middleton, but it's classed as Bury. So they have to go to Bury for adult care in the council. They have to use Pennine Acute and Pennine Care for their, for their GP, and if they're going for accident and emergency, it's North Manchester. That's a mess of trying to communicate there to get through. So my question is, if you actually get into a position of being able to regulate healthcare, how are you going to make communication more translucent between the healthcare, or are you going to group it all as one trust and just have one Manchester trust that can communicate effectively between everybody?
Okay, I think I'm happy with those two questions. I'll take yours in the next round, is that okay? And this time, as we're going this way, we're going to start with Emma, and then move along. So Emma, we'll try two questions. One is on the structure of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, and one's on the structure of the trust within that.
Alright, well, the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, we haven't really been told everything about the structure. That's part of the problem. We don't know everything that the mayor will be able to influence and what they want, but there is a difference between what we can promise we'll definitely do and what we can promise that we will campaign on and pressure other parts of the government to do. And I would believe that the mayor would act as a sort of figurehead in the area that could quite easily put pressure on the councils or the GMCA to change their policies, or at least listen to the Green policies on that subject. It's a rather difficult issue because, like I said, we don't know everything yet. As for the NHS, I've been in that position, using 3 different hospitals for 3 different things, and I had to find my way to one that I've never been to before. Very recently, it was a bit difficult. There would have to be some form of communication to make things easier, and I think that a combination or some oversight between that communication would be the best way to do it. If everyone knows what's going on, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing, which isn't as common as you think sometimes, then that's what I would aim for, so that everything is coordinated and interconnected, including the social care element that has been merged with it. So I would take advantage of what they've given us to try and improve that area of it, while still fighting against the fact that they're imposing this on us against our will.
Okay, great. So would you like to answer those two?
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 big questions, really. In terms of your question, Pia, how we actually deal with this is trying to challenge the notion that this election is business as usual. I've been part of the campaign for a referendum on devolution, and I've actually been out in communities. What we did was we went to 3 of the council leaders' wards and carried out resident surveys to actually ask people what they thought of Devo Bank. And when we did this in Wigan, when we did this in Lee West, the ward of Lord Peter Smith, the council leader there, we found on the first question, have you heard of Devo Bank? The answer was yes, 5%, no, 95%. And that's what we're dealing with. Now, granted that was 12 months ago, but I don't think things have actually advanced significantly since then. So we need to get awareness up, and actually having a candidate who's out there and engaging and trying as best we can to actually turn this into the referendum that we've so badly demanded, that we so badly need, and actually get the people of Greater Manchester thinking about how they want to be governed. That, I think, is a key aspect of that. And also, as well, making sure that we don't have identity politicians. Certainly you have with the Labour candidates, all of them straight, white, male, middle-aged guys, and then what we've got on with between them 60 years of Westminster experience, and well, just look at us here today. I think we make a real difference, a real contrast. I think that's something we should celebrate, and that's how we do it as well, by being different and standing out as ourselves. In terms of the NHS, I think I would echo a lot of what Emma said there. I think that's exactly right. Where we are going to find ourselves making cuts, and I think possibly one of the best ways of doing that without hitting frontline services is by looking at the bureaucracy, moving towards a single structure for the NHS in Greater Manchester, bringing in health, bringing in social care, making sure that mental health is aligned with that and gets the priority it deserves as well, bringing it all together under one structure with one administration and one bureaucracy, rather than a set of different purchasing organisations with different structures for each different trust. Bring things together, make it more coordinated, more efficient, and better attuned towards the people who need it most.
Okay, thank you. And next is Adam.
Okay, your first question, how are we going to change the business as usual model? Well, I think all of us are quite inspirational people, which in my opening statement I said, those who feel disenfranchised need to be inspired back into wanting to vote for politics. And like my colleague Will said, we do represent that. We're not part of the mainstay. We do represent an alternative voice. However, we can't just rely on being alternative. We have to present ourselves as viable winning options, because without being a viable winning option, there is still no point in voting for us. So what I would like to see is our candidate using especially digital marketing to attract and promote the party, and to say, we are here. If you really want to vote for someone different, someone who will engage you, then we're here. The second question, I'm not quite sure. I mean, all of the full powers of what the mayor has over the NHS rather, hasn't really been rolled out. There's still some debate, to my knowledge. However, I have read through all. There's 15 trusts associated in the Greater Manchester region, and last year 5 of the 15 specifically said communication was an issue that they needed to work on. So what I would like to see as either a united NHS in Manchester or an NHS that is answerable to the GMC and the Mayor, is targets to be laid out to try and unite the standard of the all NHS trusts across the board. And of course, communication, new ideas can be used for communication, like digital media, moving away from paper, moving away from the snail mail, moving into digital media to try and streamline the NHS. That answers your question.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. And
for the first question, business as usual. I think I was saying earlier on that I felt that the mayoral role should be a campaigning role. It should be getting out there, meeting as many people as possible, and engaging the public and trying to engender some kind of re-engagement with politics, as you were saying, because people aren't engaged at the moment. For myself, I feel that on the one hand, it's engaging with the public. On the other hand, it's engaging with councils as well and councillors, because they had very little input into the development of this process, and this is a way of bringing them on board. So the ideas that we want to engage with in terms of the Green Party can actually find a footing in local councils. It's a perfect platform to also promote climate change, the practical agenda, and of course proportional representation. Because by changing proportional representation, you stand the best chance of re-engaging the ordinary citizen of the region. On NHS, that idea of one trust for Greater Manchester, I think it's as good as idea as any. I don't happen to believe that devolving everything is necessarily a good idea. I actually believe in a national health service. Before this idea came along, it wasn't like there was no NHS and nobody knew what to do. We actually had local groups, local doctors who knew the local area. There's no need to devolve it as far as I was concerned, as far as I am concerned. And I just don't think it's a good idea. But in the situation we're in, yeah, one body for the region is as good as anything.
Okay, thanks, David. Well, I'm going to take another round of questions now, and this time Will's going to be the first one answering. Now, I know that you had a question. Please ask.
The Greater Manchester Mayor will also be the Police Commissioner for Greater Manchester. What would be different about a Green Party Police Commissioner from your point of view?
And can the candidates please make a note? And we're going to take three this time. Yes.
Yeah, David Mottram from Manchester. Historically, there's been a great tension in the city of Manchester with dominating sort of region and the towns that surround it, the districts. So taking that into account, how would candidates think of devising a strategy for the mayoral campaign which acknowledges that, which talks about a sustainable and healthy sort of region, and which relates the interests of the city at the core of Manchester with the other boroughs?
Okay, great.
And
Thank
the city
you.
of Salford.
I've got someone at the back there. Dave.
Yeah. The currently deposed elected Mayor of London, Mr Johnson, his environmental legacy at his time in office was the body spike. What would you want to have as your environmental legacy for your time as Greater Manchester Mayor?
So just for those who might not be able to hear, it's about the policing was the first question, and the centrality of the City of Manchester versus the outer areas, and the legacy or green legacy, what would it be? So, Will, do you want to start off?
Sure. Firstly, in terms of the PCC aspect, that is something that hasn't been unified and does need to be. The fact that we had a consultation on abandoning the PCC elections after we'd abandoned the PCC elections, for instance. In terms of what a green PCC will do differently, I think we'd actually look at some of the powers that the police have and make sure that they're more accountable. So I've done work in Wigan Borough on stop and search, for instance, and how it turns out that a great deal of the stop and search records aren't kept correctly. I've cracked down on that and made sure that we have a system that is open, accountable, transparent and traceable, so that everyone can actually trust the police properly. And I would build that trust, because we cannot have a safe society if people do not trust the police, and that's where we're up to. So that's where I will start, this idea of confidence building and actually getting an accountable, safe structure in place. In terms of the tension between the city and the outer boroughs, as someone in the outer boroughs, I entirely subscribe to that view. In terms of how we'd actually tailor the campaign for each of the boroughs, I think firstly what we would do is we would engage with each of the 10 local parties, and in particular focus with the target to win candidates in each of the boroughs. Make sure that we've got a clear strategy and that the mayor is part of that, the mayoral candidate is part of that, supporting the candidates who are already in place, and then getting that support back, getting those structures that are in place, listening to those concerns on the ground and applying our policies as necessary and interacting with the people on the ground. That's the key issue there. We have the structures in places like Altrincham, places like Walder Range, where we've had the Target to Win campaign there. Those structures are in place, we use them.
And the Green Legacy?
Green Legacy, well sadly I can't think of any mode of transport that's alliterative, like the Boris bikes, but I think certainly a better public transport system is what's needed, particularly where the outer boroughs are concerned. We need far more ambitious strategies than we have been getting. For instance, the guided busway doesn't actually avoid any congestion, for instance. We need to do more radical things, and that's my priority.
Okay, thank you. Great. So next answering those three is Adam.
So Bernard, your question was, what will a police commissioner agree, police commissioner agreement would be different? And if I was the police commissioner, I would promote persuasion over coercion. And by that, what I mean is, it always feels to me that the police are there to punish people as opposed to stop crime. And I don't think, like as Will says, I don't think more transparency will stop that. I think it's an endemic philosophy towards policing a nation, or policing a group of people that is the actual issue. So, from where I stand, I think about New York in the 1990s. And what they did is, instead of going out and punishing people for certain crimes, they sent their police force out to meet people at home, in their homes, and get to know either repeat offenders or those who are really vulnerable in vulnerable areas. And I think we should be taking a similar approach, not just waiting until crimes have happened, but nipping them in the bud and actually guiding people towards more opportunities. The second question was the city region being dominant. Now, I would love to say that I do think that all boroughs should have an equal practical width. I do think that. But I think we live in Manchester, and the difference between Manchester and London, as someone who has lived in London, is that we have more of a community feel. And I personally feel that that community feel comes from a centre that we can all relate to. So I think each town centre should be developed, but the city centre should still remain the city centre. And as far as the Boris bikes go, I would love to say that I'll bring Boris or Adam's bikes to the city, but I think it rains a little bit too much to enjoy walking and biking all the time. So what I would like to see is, or what I would like to leave is something very similar to the Oyster card. I would like to try and clear out the M60 and the M62, and not only have the buses as part of a single ticket, but bring the Metro link, which I think which definitely changed my life as someone who doesn't drive, and the train lines all together after 5 years.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Well done.
Okay. Policing. Yes, lots to say on that one. But very quickly, statistics I think are important. So stop and search is 2.5 times worse amongst ethnic minorities in Manchester, Greater Manchester, than it is across the national average. A couple of simple things: publish statistics, find out where the hotspots are, and then implement. You abuse it, you lose it. So if a police officer is shown to abuse the stop and search, they lose the power to do it. Simple. In addition to that, I think that in terms of the commissioner role, again, should be campaigning. So it's not just what happens locally, but they should be campaigning for more resources for the police from the Home Office, because they've suffered cuts like everywhere else. And then coming back to GMP itself directly, I don't know if you've read recently, but Professional Standards, which is the body that looks after corrupt policemen, has been under investigation itself and have stalled investigations. They should be completely cleared out so they're untouchables, and that will then have a knock-on effect everywhere else. In terms of regions, again, there should be a more even split of resources, not just Manchester benefiting, and also regions shouldn't be disadvantaged by development. So HS2 coming to Manchester, for example, will have a detrimental effect on Stockport. That shouldn't be the case in all of these things. But in terms of environmental legacy, a decrease in CO2 emissions, verifiable, and also bringing pollution back under control by EU law, because apparently we're breaking the law right now.
Very good. Okay, thanks. So, Emma Sarabanda?
Okay, on to the police commissioner subject. Everything that's been said here I agree with so far. I would also, in addition to that, want to look into equality and diversity in hiring processes, because that's, you know, you see the stereotypes that, you know, someone who's abusing their power is going to be going after someone disadvantaged. You want to make sure that they have the fair share in that power to, I'm not sure I'm wording that right. But I also agree with what Adam said about caring for the community, making the police seem less like a hostile force and more like someone you go to when you need help. And transparency as well as that. Everyone's said what I was going to say already. The city. Well, I live in Salford, and even between Salford Centre and the rural area, there's a difference you can see. I would want to look into some kind of equity of funding for those areas, as well as campaigning on the ground for what is important to the people there, not just what the city thinks is important.
And the legacy environment?
Well, I would want to focus on a better public transport system, including disabled access, which is a big issue for me personally. You know, want to encourage green buses, green private cars as well, so that people who can't, basically green buses and disabled access.
Great. Okay, super. So that completes our third round of questions. Now we're ready for another round. I saw some hands earlier, so there was one at the back. Yes.
Housing, of course, is another remit from this new mayor. What would you do to tackle homelessness in Greater Manchester?
Okay, so housing and homelessness. And could you please say a question?
Yes. I'm thinking very much about the successful campaign that the Greens had for the London mayoral election, where Shanberry finished very strong third and we managed to retain our deposit, which wasn't the case for any other candidate apart from the Labour or the Conservatives. And that was on the back of a very strong national support from the National Green Party office. What sort of support would you be looking for as the Greater Manchester candidate from the National Party in support of your candidacy?
Good question. Right, and one more. Yes.
Playing devil's advocate, people say Andy Burnham is a shoo-in, so how would you give him the run for his money?
Can you just repeat that, sorry?